Yes, I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show.
For 13 seasons, they were the undisputed kings of car restoration on TV. They were a perfect partnership, a global phenomenon, and a show that felt like catching up with old friends in the garage. You had Mike Brewer, the charismatic, globe-trotting dealer with an uncanny eye for a bargain, and Edd China, the gentle giant, the mechanical wizard who could patiently bring any car back from the brink. They weren't just hosts, they were the heart and soul of Wheeler Dealers, a program that didn't just entertain, it educated, inspired, and created a worldwide community of car lovers. Then, in 2017, the unthinkable happened. The engine seized. The partnership fractured. And seemingly overnight, the heart of the show was ripped out. Edd China was gone. There was no grand farewell, no emotional on-screen handshake, no joint statement celebrating their incredible run. Just a quiet, sudden exit. The official reason was that classic, sterile corporate phrase, creative differences. But for the millions of fans who'd invested over a decade of their lives in this duo, that simple explanation just didn't feel right. It was too clean, too neat, and too hollow to explain the abrupt departure of a man so vital to the show's identity. It was a story that left you with more questions than answers, and in that vacuum, rumors and speculation started to boil. Now, years later, after a storm of controversy, public feuds, and heartfelt explanations, the full, complicated story has finally emerged. It's a dramatic tale of corporate pressure from a new American network, a bitter fight for the soul of the show, and an impossible choice that forced one man to walk away from the empire he helped build. This is what really happened to Edd China and Wheeler Dealers. So why was the split so devastating? First, you have to understand why Wheeler Dealers worked so beautifully in the first place. When it premiered in the UK back in 2003, its concept was refreshingly simple and authentic. Mike Brewer, a real-life car dealer, would use his own money to find a tired, unloved classic. He'd haggle, he'd hunt, and he'd find a diamond in the rough. Then he'd hand it over to his secret weapon, Edd China. From his workshop, Edd wasn't just a mechanic. He was a teacher. In his signature calm, methodical way, he'd diagnose the problems, source the parts, and then, crucially, show you exactly how to fix them. While other car shows were manufacturing drama and fake arguments, Wheeler Dealers was focused on the work. Edd would break down incredibly complex jobs, from rebuilding a gearbox to sorting out tricky electrics, into steps anyone could understand. He made the whole process feel less intimidating, empowering a generation of viewers to pick up the spanners and have a go themselves. He was the anchor of the show, the quiet authority that gave it all its credibility. The chemistry between Mike and Edd was the glue that held it all together. On the surface, they were total opposites. Mike was the fast-talking, energetic frontman. Edd was the patient, methodical craftsman. But their partnership felt genuine. They had a shared passion, a mutual respect, and an easygoing banter that made you feel like you were part of the team. This wasn't just for the cameras, it was personal. In a later interview, Mike would reveal that Edd was the godfather to his daughter, proof of a bond that went far beyond the TV screen. For 13 seasons, this formula was a runaway success. The show became a global hit, broadcast in over 200 territories. They restored more than 135 cars, from humble hatchbacks to exotic supercars. They were a brand, a trusted institution. Fans didn't just watch the show, they lived it. They debated car choices on forums, tried out Edd's techniques in their own garages, and saw Mike and Edd as the gold standard. The show was more than just a program. It was comfort viewing, a reliable friend. It seemed unstoppable. But behind the scenes, a storm was brewing that would put the very soul of the show and the friendship at its core to the ultimate test. The beginning of the end started with a move. As the show's popularity exploded, so did its ambitions. Wheeler dealers packed up and moved to Huntington Beach, California, looking to tap into the massive American car market. With the move came a new production partner, the Velocity Channel, in the U.S., which would later become Motor Trend. At first, this seemed like a dream. Bigger budgets, access to a whole new world of classic American muscle, and a chance to take the brand to even greater heights. But this transatlantic shift brought more than just sunshine and new cars. It brought a new corporate philosophy, one that was completely at odds with the show's DNA. American reality TV often plays by a different set of rules. It prioritizes faster pacing, more drama, and bite-sized segments designed to hold the attention of a broader, more casual audience. The new producers at Velocity started looking at the Wheeler Dealers format not as something sacred, but as a product that could be retooled for this new market. And their focus landed squarely on one area, the workshop. From their point of view, Edd's long, detailed, and often complicated mechanical deep dives were seen as a roadblock for new viewers. They were considered too difficult to make, too time-consuming, and maybe just too niche for the mainstream American audience they wanted to capture. Whispers started on set about streamlining the show. The goal was to drastically cut the time dedicated to Edd's workshop fixes. The network's vision was a version of Wheeler Dealers that was less of an educational journey and more of an entertainment-focused car-flipping show. More Mike, less Edd. More buying and selling, less fixing and tinkering. This wasn't just a minor tweak, it was a philosophical earthquake. The proposal to, as Edd would later put it, dumb down the workshop content struck at the very heart of what he believed the show was all about. For over a decade, those segments were his domain, the place where the show earned its trust and its loyal following. It was what made Wheeler Dealers different. Now he was being told that the very thing that made the show unique was a problem that needed to be solved. The stage was set for a showdown between the man who was the soul of the show and the network that now owned its future. The pressure from the production company didn't come as one big dramatic ultimatum. It was a slow burn, a gradual erosion of the show's core principles happening behind the scenes. For Edd China, this was more than just a professional disagreement. It became a fight for his own integrity. In a candid video he later released, Edd laid out the situation with his typical clarity. He revealed he was explicitly asked to cut corners. The detailed and in-depth coverage of his workshop fixes, the very essence of his job, was on the chopping block. The network's logic was cold and simple. Making the workshop segments shorter and simpler would save a ton of time, effort, and money. They wanted a show that was faster and cheaper to make, even if it meant gutting the quality and educational value that had been its trademark for 13 years. Edd refused. He argued that this new direction would be a betrayal of the show's loyal fans. He felt a responsibility not just to entertain, but to teach. To strip away that educational part of the show would, in his eyes, be a slap in the face to the millions who tuned in to learn something. He believed the show's success was built on a foundation of authenticity, and what the network wanted was a more superficial, less credible format. So this wasn't just about screen time. It was a fundamental clash over what Wheeler Dealers should even be. Was it a genuine restoration show for car lovers, or was it just another reality show about flipping things for a quick profit? Edd was firmly on the side of restoration. He had built his reputation on being a meticulous, honest mechanic, and he refused to compromise those standards for production efficiency. He famously stated that the corners he was being asked to cut would compromise the quality of my work and would erode my integrity as well as that of the show. The dynamic with Mike Brewer during this time is more complicated. As the frontman and dealmaker, Mike was perhaps more comfortable with the demands of TV production. In later interviews, Mike hinted that their final year working together was tough, describing Edd as becoming more difficult and angry. feeling the strain of long production days in California. It suggests a situation where Edd's principled stand against the network may have been seen by others as him being uncooperative. Ultimately, Edd was backed into a corner. The production company, Discovery, gave him a choice: stay and adapt to the new watered-down format, or leave. For Edd, it wasn't a choice at all. Staying would mean helping to dismantle everything he had built. It would mean putting his name on a product he no longer believed in. And so, with a heavy heart, he decided to walk away. He chose his principles over his paycheck and his integrity over the global platform he had commanded for over a decade. In March 2017, the news didn't come from a network press release. It came from a quiet, dignified, and incredibly powerful video Edd China uploaded to his own YouTube channel. Sitting in what looked like a home office, Edd calmly laid out his reasons for leaving. He explained the network's desire to shrink, the workshop content, and his refusal to compromise his work. He was careful not to be dramatic, but his message was crystal clear. He was leaving to protect the soul of the show. He concluded, "My only option is to let Velocity get on with it without me." The video landed like a bombshell. Fans were stunned, confused, and overwhelmingly angry. It's one thing for a beloved TV personality to leave a show. It's another to feel like he was pushed out for refusing, to dumb it down for corporate reasons. It confirmed every fan's worst fear, that the authentic, passion-driven show they loved was being sanitized by its new American owners. The backlash was immediate, massive, and aimed squarely at two targets: the Velocity Network and Mike Brewer. The internet absolutely erupted. Social media, forums, and comment sections were flooded with messages of support for Edd and fury towards the show. Edd was hailed as a hero, a man of principle who stood up to corporate greed. Mike, on the other hand, was cast as the villain. Fair or not, fans saw Mike as the one who stayed, the one who sided with the network over his longtime partner. They accused him of betraying Edd and selling out the show's legacy for a bigger paycheck. The criticism quickly spiraled out of control, moving from professional critiques to vile, personal attacks. Mike Brewer, his wife, and even his daughter were subjected to a torrent of online abuse, including horrifically death threats. The situation became so toxic that police had to get involved. Mike was in an impossible position. He released his own emotional video, claiming he was devastated by Edd's decision and blindsided by his public announcement. He vehemently denied any plan to change the format one iota. But for many fans, the damage was done. The story had been written. Edd was the martyr, and Mike was the traitor. In a later video, Edd himself had to address the horrifying backlash. He urged fans to stop the abuse, making it clear that whatever his professional disagreements with Mike were, the hate being directed at his family was unacceptable. With a tone of sadness, he said, "Is he my favorite person right now? Probably not. And I know for sure I'm not his. That's okay. We are both adults. We will get over ourselves." It was a plea for civility, but it also revealed the deep fracture in their relationship. The Golden Era partnership was well and truly broken. Once the dust settled, both Edd and Mike had to figure out what was next. The show they built together had to go on, but their careers would now run on separate tracks, each path defined by the very conflict that tore them apart. For Mike Brewer, the immediate challenge was huge. He had to keep wheeler-dealers on the road while a huge part of the fan base saw him as the bad guy. He faced the monumental task of replacing a co-host who was, for many, irreplaceable. The first to step into Edd's massive shoes was Ant Anstead, another talented British mechanic who brought his own high-energy charm to the workshop. For 3 seasons, he and Mike built a new chemistry. The show went on, the format largely the same. But for die-hard fans, something was missing. The slow, methodical pace of the Edd era was gone, replaced by a faster, more streamlined presentation. After Ant Anstead left, he was replaced by Mark Elvis Priestley, a former McLaren Formula One mechanic. Elvis brought a staggering level of technical knowledge from the highest level of motorsport, and his partnership with Mike has been very well received. Wheeler Dealers has continued to evolve, proving its resilience as a global brand. Mike has remained the constant, the anchor of the show, weathering the storm and proving his unwavering commitment to the brand he co-created. Edd China, meanwhile, took a completely different path. Free from network constraints, he went directly to his audience. He launched a YouTube channel that quickly gained a massive following. In 2021, he premiered Edd China's Workshop Diaries, a show that was the purest version of what his fans had been missing. No artificial deadlines, no fake drama, just Edd in his workshop, patiently working on fascinating vehicles. It was a triumphant return to his roots, proving there was a huge appetite for the deep, authentic content the network had deemed too difficult. However, life as an independent creator hasn't been without its own challenges. A project to fix the cheapest Ferrari in Europe drew criticism from some corners of the internet, with some longtime fans questioning the methods and accusing him of the kind of clickbait framing he had seemed to stand against. Around the same time, a short, leaked video surfaced online showing Edd in a heated argument with a cameraman, presenting a side of the calm mechanic the public had never seen. These incidents proved that even for a beloved figure, the pressures of independent content creation are very real. The relationship between the two men remains a topic of sad speculation. They have not publicly reunited. Mike has expressed his disappointment, saying in a podcast he wished they were still mates, but that he wouldn't be the one to make the first move, stating, "That's down to him." Edd, for his part, has mostly taken the high road, focusing on the professional reasons for his exit. But the silence between them speaks volumes. Two men who shared a workshop, a screen, and a decade of their lives now exist in separate orbits, their shared legacy forever marked by the split that tore them apart. The story of Wheeler Dealers is a powerful cautionary tale about passion, pressure, and the price of integrity. It really makes you think about what we value in the shows we love. Do you think Edd made the right call? Has the show ever been the same without him? Or do you think Mike and the new team have successfully carried the torch? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and this is a topic that always sparks a fascinating debate. And if you enjoy deep dives like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. When you look back at the whole Wheeler Dealers saga, it's clear there are no simple heroes or villains here. It's a story of two friends who built an empire, only to see it fractured by the pressures of global success and two very different professional philosophies. Edd China stood his ground for what he believed the show should be: authentic, educational, and detailed. His departure was a principled, painful decision that cemented his reputation as a man of integrity. He risked everything to stay true to himself, and in doing so, he kept the trust of the community that supported him from day one. Mike Brewer, on the other hand, faced an unimaginable storm. He endured vicious personal attacks while keeping the ship afloat for the network and the millions who still wanted to watch. He made the pragmatic choice, adapting to the demands of a global TV brand and ensuring the Wheeler Dealers name would survive. His persistence, in its own way, is a testament to his dedication. In the end, the split left a permanent mark on car TV. It tore a fan base in two and ended one of the most beloved partnerships on screen. Edd's prediction that fans might get two great shows instead of one has largely come true. Wheeler Dealers continues its journey, while Workshop Diaries offers a pure, unfiltered dose of that classic Edd China magic. But for many, the magic of what they had together remains unmatched. The split is a timeless reminder of the constant battle between creative passion and corporate commerce. It's a story that proves that sometimes, even in the most successful projects, some cracks are just too deep to repair. The legacy of their partnership isn't just the cars they restored, but the standard they set. A standard so high that its breakdown shook the car world to its very core.